Hey, I'm an addict named Barry. Grateful to be clean. First thing I want to do is thank the convention committee for selecting me. I don't know how that happened. I just know that I had nothing to do with it, okay? Well, I did the footwork. I sent in the tape, all right? Then it's out of my hands. You know, my sponsor said it's in the higher power's hands now. You know, you just stay out of the way and let things unfold, and they unfold as they unfold. And that's how it's been for me since I've been here. See, because I'm my own worst enemy. If I stay out of my way, I do pretty good, okay? But when I get in my way, things get kind of hectic, okay? So, got a lot of support here. We got some Louisiana people in the house. Some Mississippi people in the house. Some people I've met through social media in the house, right? Don't forget that. And I couldn't do that without Narcotics Anonymous, okay? Because I was that addict. I'm so grateful that the literature says any addict, you know, because I'm that any addict that showed up here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that looked like, but more importantly, I want to share what recovery's done since getting here, okay? The topic, and I loved it, because hitting bottom, despair and isolation, right? But when I showed up here, I couldn't see any of it, all right? I'm going to give you a little history with the denial piece of that. But what I love is how it starts out. It says what makes us addicts is the disease of addiction, not the drugs. Because when I showed up, what I thought I had was a drug problem, okay? Yeah, drugs got me here, okay? And I don't want to ever forget that, okay? And what I believe today, it's still always about the drugs, okay? Because here's what I know. If I put one in me, it's history, okay? Because one is too many and 1,000 never enough, all right? I ain't never had enough drugs. I don't care how much I had. I might have just scored a big package. But it wasn't even out yet, and I'm already worried about how I'm going to get some more, okay? I think we got some people in here who understand that. But I'm going to give you an example of what separates me with the disease of addiction from someone who doesn't have the disease of addiction. And that's my sister, okay? Same bloodline. Mom, dad, grandparents, the whole shebang, right? We used a little bit together in high school. I could never get enough from the first time I used. Something happened, like the magic is, right? Something magical happened to me. And it was like, I remember saying to myself, I want to live like this for the rest of my life. I want to feel just like this for the rest of my life. I remember saying things in high school like, there's no hope without dope. Like, who says stuff like that? Right? Probably in a room full of them, right? But here's the example I'm going to give you. I lived in a little town at this time. We had moved from New Orleans and was living in a little town called Destrehan, Louisiana. And there was this little place where, this is in the 70s, where these bands would come in and play, and the teenage kids would go there and hang out. Well, this is the first time and last time my sister used. She got like sick, like bleh. And here's what separates me from her. If I ask her about that today, she cringes. Remember that time? And she will almost cower down like, oh my God. And I was like, I couldn't wait to do it again. Here's another example. I go visit. In Alexandria, Louisiana, I go visit my sister. And I open a fridge, and there's little four boxes of wine coolers in her fridge. One's out, right? So I go back a few months later. I open the fridge. I said, "Hey, sis, I see you got you some new wine coolers, huh?" She said, "No, that's the same ones from last time you was here." Or when I'm on the jet coming here, there's a guy sitting next to me, gets the little shots and puts them in his drink, and drinks like half of it. And I'm like trying to, dude, it's 12 years clean. My clean day is January 24th of 2006. Hey. And I call that the first day of my life, okay? Because before that, I'm going to show you how I showed up here. I showed up to Narcotics Anonymous, homeless, jobless, and penniless, okay? I've got 6 felony convictions. I've served over 10 years in the Department of Corrections in the state of Louisiana. Every state I went to, I got locked up in. Every one. Because I tried to move away from the problem, but when I got to where I was going, the problem showed up because the problem was me. Everywhere I went. So that's how I showed up here. Unemployable. And the sickest part about that is I didn't think anything was wrong. I thought I was okay. It was everything else and everyone else and everybody else was the problem. So how I showed up was I was living with some people after Hurricane Katrina. And they told me something. They said, "Look, man, you need to get some help or get out." Okay? Now, I don't know about y'all, but addict math computes that real quickly. Okay? 3 hots in a cot or under the tree. We're talking about in January. It's cold. Okay? So I said, "I'll tell y'all what I'm going to do. I'm going to go. But I don't have a problem." Because I thought I was going to go the next day. But they said, "No, we're leaving now." Because I thought I could get me one more run in. They knew me. So I walked in this, I didn't hear of I've never heard of Narcotics Anonymous. I used to go support my second stripper wife at meetings because she was court ordered to go to some meetings. I did say second one. There's something about the insanity of that. And what I couldn't figure out was this. I brought both of them home to meet my mom and dad, and I couldn't understand why mom and dad didn't like them. So I cut mom and dad loose. You know, the people that raised me, right, that loved me, that tried to provide and give for me, I couldn't see it. So I showed up to Narcotics Anonymous like that, despair and isolation, I couldn't even see it. My very first day in this facility, these people from the outside come in carrying this message called Narcotics Anonymous. I'm in the very back of the room, didn't want to be there, didn't think anything was wrong, but something happened. You know, I remember hearing that I never had to use again. See, I had never heard that before. I had heard, like, why can't you stop? What's wrong with you? Look what you're doing, like, with some expletives on the end of it. So this addict, look, when I hear stuff like that, I tune that out. Like, I'm fixing to go get one now. I'm going to show you. You know, I'll kill me, right? So a couple of weeks in, they take me to this meeting. And I'm so grateful that it was Narcotics Anonymous. There's this group in the state of Mississippi called, how y'all like this name? Mainline Recovery. Like, who names a group Mainline? Hey, it's in a little town called Clarksdale, Mississippi. We got some musicians in here. You know about Clarksdale, Mississippi then, okay? But what I didn't know was this. That was the first established group in the state of Mississippi in 1976. So I got to be part of history. I didn't know it at the time. So, showing up like that. After about 30 days, I did this extra little piece of that facility. Because I didn't want to go back to where I'd came from. And I don't mean the place. I'm talking about how I was living. Something was beginning to happen to me that I couldn't see then, but I could feel it. And then the people said, well, you got to get a sponsor. And I thought like he was talking to the other people. But part of that process was I had to do it, or they said my address was going to change. So addict math computes that real quickly, right? Homeless again, or 3 hots in a cot. So that's what I did. That was at least one of the toughest things I've done since I've been in Narcotics Anonymous was ask another man, can you help me? And I asked him, could he help me? Would he sponsor me? And he said it would be an honor to sponsor you. But he says you're going to have to do some work. And I was like, work? I just don't want my address to change, bro. That's what I told him. He says, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you first assignment. Look, I said, all right, what is it? He says, I need you to call me every day. And I'm like, call you for what? You know, like what we got to talk about. You know, what we got in common. He says, just call me. Well, I called him every day for 3.5 years. See, he didn't tell me for how long. But he did kind of gently suggest I needed to start spreading my network out. Okay? And what he told me to do is anytime I went to a new meeting, or if I went to a Narcotics Anonymous convention, I had to come back with 3 phone numbers of people I did not know. Now my phone is full of people's numbers, right? But see, today I got to take your picture. Because I don't know who you are in my phone. So if I ask you want my number, I got to take a picture. It's because I can remember your face. But I've been down that list of phone numbers before. And it didn't matter which number I was pressing. Because when my mother died, February 22nd of 2014, the first person I called was my sponsor. Okay? See, because today I believe in calling the hope man, not the dope man. Okay? And I called down that list. I kept calling numbers. People wasn't answering. Then someone would answer. I would talk to them. It's 5.5 hours to Alexandria from where I live. And y'all showed up. Because when one would hang up, the phone would, y'all were calling back. Y'all kept calling. And I remember being at the wake. And it was just me and my mom. And I remember making a promise to my mother that they wasn't going to find me dead of an overdose. That they wasn't going to find me under a bridge with my brains bashed out, trying to get one. Now, I did say just for today, Mom. And I'm going to tell you what, my mother loved Narcotics Anonymous. She loved this program. She told all her friends about Narcotics Anonymous and what it did for her son. Because people would call her friends would call her. And their kids would have drug problems. She would tell them to go to Narcotics Anonymous. It helped my son. My sister does the same thing today. Matter of fact, one of her sons just celebrated 6 months last week in this fellowship. And he said it was because of me. What I didn't know was he's been watching me for over 12 years, lived this thing. When it was time, you know who he called? He called me. That's the little Cajun guy coming to the meetings in Alexandria. Justin. That's what we do for each other. See, that's Narcotics Anonymous. My mother come and stayed with me before she died. And I was living in Clarksdale at the time. And she said, son, can I go with you to one of them meetings you always talking about? I'm like, Ma, it's Saturday night. There's an open meeting. You're welcome to come. So we're headed to the meeting, and guess what I said? I said, Mom, when you get there, don't try to share. Okay? Because, see, what I'm thinking is that she's going to try to tell us about the God of her understanding and what we need to be doing. Because, see, that's the kind of stuff I heard. But, see, the disease of addiction had distorted my reality so much, that wasn't what she was trying to do. She was just telling me what was working for her. Okay? That's it. She says, all right, I ain't going to share. I said, good. So we go to the meeting. There's, about 35 people. And at the end of the meeting, my mom raised her hand. And she asked the chairperson, would it be all right if I say something? I knew we was fixing to get jade for real. But I'm going to tell you what happened that night. My mother stood up, just like I'm standing in front of you right now. And here's what she said. I love this program y'all call Narcotics Anonymous. Thank y'all for giving me my son back. So why am I here? All I can share is my story. Okay? I can't share somebody else's. I didn't know how to do that when I got clean, because I would hear people say stuff, I'd want to say it. mimic, right? But over time, I began to develop my own program, okay? And that's as a direct result of working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. Because this is a 12-step fellowship, right? It's not a 1, 2, 3 program. I've seen a lot of people 1, 2, 3 out the door. We got a lot of people dying. I buried 3 sponsees within a year. One more time. And they're not with us today. I buried my mother and my sponsor within a few months, my second sponsor. And what got me through that was people like you sitting here tonight. Y'all love me through all of that. And y'all continue to love me through that. Whatever I'm going through, what I've learned is I never have to do it alone. My home group is called Never Alone, Never Again. NA, right? Established October 29th of 2012 in Oxford, Mississippi. Let me tell you about the growth of Narcotics Anonymous in Oxford, Mississippi. When I moved to Oxford, Mississippi, there was 1 NA meeting a week. I'm coming from a place where there's meetings every day. I knew that we had to do something because there was addicts that needed to hear the message of Narcotics Anonymous. So we started a group. And I've helped start 2 more groups. Now there's 4 groups and 15 meetings a week in Oxford, Mississippi. I didn't do that. Because there's something greater than me. Takes care of all that. I just have to do the footwork. I'm not in charge of the results. I'm very grateful for everybody here tonight. And my hopes is this, is that you felt something in your heart that sparks your interest just enough to hang around one more day. Okay? Because what I've learned is this, all I have is today. I don't have next week. I plan things way in advance. Like I'm flying out of here Sunday to Dallas for the game. Okay? I couldn't do that before I got to Narcotics Anonymous. I couldn't leave a 10-block radius. Because everything happened within that little spot. And guess what? The message of hope and the promise of freedom, I'm grateful I am free today. Okay? And I don't have to ask anybody to leave the state of Mississippi. I get to come and go as I please. That ain't how I showed up. I showed up on paper. Remember 6 felonies? That's gone. Today I sit in a room with psychiatrists. Look, I've got lawyers and judges calling me, asking me, what do I think? Sometimes I'm sitting in the room with them, the disease. Look, what the disease of addiction will do. I hope they don't ask me anything because I don't know nothing. That's the disease of addiction. Sometimes I'm going to work and I'm thinking they're going to have all my stuff in a box outside saying fraud, fake. But see, the recovery kicks in. And I share that with someone. And you know what they say? I think the same thing sometimes. So I know I'm in the right place. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This is a World Convention of Narcotics Anonymous 30.